So Amber, is there any introductions? You're coming on up, right? Right, great. Okay, great.
Is this one on? Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. Okay, so I have two devices going here, so we'll see how this works. But I am going to share a little bit today about my experience attending the Rotary International Convention in Calgary, Alberta last month. I'll share just a little bit about like the experience, and then two priorities for why I went was number one, to attend some of the breakout sessions on recruiting new members to our club. So I'll share a little bit about that. The second one was on global grant projects. So I'll share a little bit about that. And then there is information on how you can go to next year's convention if you would like. So I have to start by telling you this story, and I feel like it really kind of sets the stage for what my experience was like on this trip. So I'm on the plane and we had been delayed and I had a connection somewhere. And so we're sitting on the plane and I am talking to the young kid next to me and he's like, so what are you doing? What is Rotary? And I said, oh, it's an international service organization. And I kind of went into my spiel about what Rotary is. And this lady pops her head up between the two seats behind me. And she was like, nice elevator speech. And she gave me a high five through the seats. And I was like, okay, I guess this lady's going to the convention too. Like, she seems nice. And she said, I'm the first woman president. And I was like, oh, we have one of those in our club too. That's awesome. So I get to know this lady a little bit, and it turns out she's the first woman president of Rotary International ever. So we had been delayed. We were worried about, were we going to make our connection and everything? So we get off the plane, we run to the next plane as fast as we can. Like both of us just like out of breath, sweating. And the gate agent is like, oh, you guys got delayed by like an hour and a half. You got plenty of time. Go grab dinner. So she and her friends just kind of swooped me up and brought me as their guest into the Delta Lounge. And we had cocktails and she was the nicest person. But there were all these people like, hey, Jennifer, can I take a picture with you? And so I look at her friend and I was like, is she like Rotary famous? Am I supposed to know who she is? And her friend was like, yeah, she's kind of famous. So anyway, my very first encounter with another Rotarian happened to be the first female president.
So how long?
Oh, about me? Oh, so I just joined in March. So she thought that was super, super cool. Yes, I don't know who she is because she wasn't the president when I joined, but she thought it was super cool that I decided to visit Calgary so shortly after joining. And everyone who I met the entire week was just as wonderful and just as energetic and enthusiastic as she was. So one of the things that I wanted to share with the group, and I hope that this is not a whole bunch of information that you all already know, but I was really struck by how much more there is to Rotary than just our weekly meetings that we have here. So you may already know this, but Rotary now has 1.4 million members across 45,000 clubs that cover over 200 countries. The conference for me came at such a good time because I was kind of in this place where I was feeling like life is hard right now. The news is scary right now. The future is a little bit uncertain right now. And it was like, I got to spend 5 days in this little bubble with people from all over the world, all just gathered together and really, really excited to talk about how we can make the world a better place. And that was just incredibly, incredibly refreshing. And it really, the new theme for Rotary this year is United for Good. And I felt that when I was in Calgary. It felt like a really, really big family reunion. I heard several people refer to it that way. I wanted to ask, has anybody been to one before? Couple, two people. Okay. So there were a couple things I learned about that I didn't even know were part of the club experience. The first one was I learned about the Rotary action groups. And these are kind of like independent Rotary affiliated groups, and they can be people in clubs from all over. And they are typically for a particular field. So peace, addiction prevention, bettering the environment, and they're offering their technical expertise and their support to help clubs plan and implement their projects. They do things like help find partners, help find funding, provide resources, and anybody can be a part of a Rotary action group if there's something that you feel really passionate about. And so I found this information that last year they raised $1.6 million in humanitarian projects through all these different Rotary action groups, over 1,000 service projects. So you go into they call it the House of Friendship at the conference, and there's all these booths where you can learn about all of these different projects that Rotarians from all over the world are getting together and doing. And that was really cool and inspiring. Another thing I thought was super fun. Has anybody heard of the fellowship groups? Yeah, a little bit. Okay. So they're kind of like hobby clubs. And you can get on the Rotary website, and if you just type in the search bar fellowship groups, it'll pull up the whole list. There are groups for people all over the world, no matter what you're interested in. There's groups for lawyers, teachers, authors. There are groups if you like coffee or beer or whiskey. There's groups for motorcycle riders, for people who like cooking. There's one for dolls, people who like stand-up comedy. I sat next to a guy at one of the breakout sessions, and his fellowship group was their RVers. And so they had 25 Rotarians and 25 RVs, and they all met in Michigan, and they all drove their RVs all through Canada for 2 weeks before attending the conference. So there's like all these opportunities for other ways to get involved and to connect with people who have the same interests as you that I really had no idea about. And then this is another one that they talked about a little bit. And I think this kind of went by the wayside a little bit during the COVID years, but Rotary also has a friendship exchange where people from our club could reach out and partner with somebody from another club somewhere else in the world, and you get to go visit them. And so you have to choose like one of your 4 focus areas. Are you going because you want to experience the culture? Because you want, I have culture on there twice. Apparently, I really want to experience the culture in new places. Is it vocation? Is it fellowship? And you determine the purpose of your trip. And then a group from our club, a couple people would go and spend, a week or 10 days or something learning about the culture from a club in Kenya or from a club in Taiwan or wherever. So I don't know if anybody from our club has ever done anything like that, but it seems really cool and really interesting. And we could have people then come here and experience our culture or experience our club here, so we could host them back and forth. So I thought that was really neat. We also talked a lot about Rotary's areas of focus and the global grant process and how you get projects funded in this area of focus. I went into the week hoping to gather some ideas for a future project that I have in mind. And I came out of the week with like really, really clear steps on what I need to do to turn that idea into a reality, which was really cool. One of my big goals for going was to attend the sessions on opportunities to learn more about how to bring new people in. So we're always looking to attract new members. Our goal is 30 this year.
33 now. 30.
Oh, okay. 30-ish. One of the breakout sessions that I attended was really cool. It was called Attracting the Next Generation of Rotarians. And so they did a little activity at the beginning of the session, and I'm going to do it here. Raise your hand if you are from the Gen Z generation, if you were born between 1995 and 2015. Okay, raise your hand if you are a millennial. 1980 to 1994. Raise your hand if you are Gen X and were born between 65 and 79. Okay. Raise your hand if you are a boomer and were born between 44 and 64.
Yeah.
And if you were born 1945 or before, you are the traditionalist generation. So I'm actually glad that I did that just now, because our club is certainly more diverse than the group who was in the room for this breakout session. This was one of the most popular and most requested breakout sessions. They capped it at 200 people, and they turned away probably another 150 who were in line to get in. But when she did this, there was one person who was Gen Z, and he said, "I'm just here with my dad." There were 2 millennials, and I was one of the 2. Maybe 10 Gen Xers, and everybody else in the room was from the baby boomer generation. And what the presenter told us was, although Rotary members are growing in numbers worldwide, they are declining in North America. As our older members are no longer active, we're not bringing in as many newer members. And I know that's a challenge for clubs everywhere. So it was really neat to kind of brainstorm what was keeping the younger generation from joining Rotary. So she had us do an activity, and she put us together in pairs of groups of 4. So I didn't know these other people. And she said, find the youngest adult that you know and call them right now and have a conversation with them. Ask them questions. So we called my little brother in the middle of his workday. He's thrilled. But he's the youngest adult that I know. He's 30. And so we asked him, "What is your impression of Rotary?" And he said, "What is Rotary?" Which surprised me a little bit, because I have talked with my family a lot about it since I've joined, but he didn't know anything. The other questions they had us ask were, if you were to get information about joining Rotary, how would you like to consume that information? My brother and everybody else who shared, they all said they want that information digitally, whether it's watching a YouTube video that's some sort of promotional video, if it's getting an invitation to a happy hour through a Facebook event. They all said digital is the way to connect with me. And then we talked about like what they thought about joining Rotary and what the barriers might be. So when other people got up and shared, here's what we heard. It's only for old people. It's only for business owners. I didn't know that my town had a Rotary. I thought that it was for business networking. Some of the barriers people said were, I can't meet in the middle of the day. You know, I only get an hour for a lunch break, and if I add in commute time, I can't commit to the meetings. A lot of younger people said, if I am going to give to an organization, or if I'm going to do a service project, I'll just do it, rather than giving my money to Rotary, who then gives the money to an organization. The younger generation wants to be directly involved in the process of whatever service it is that they're being involved with. So I took a whole bunch of notes, and everybody brainstormed different ways that we can try and engage new members. So we're going to talk about that in one of the membership committee meetings, I think, coming up in August. But just to give you, like, I'll give you a few quick hits at the end of some ideas that I had. And then I'll kind of go through this really quickly. My main goal, other than the membership sessions, was to learn about projects and global grants. I have a project in my mind that is very near and dear to my heart that I would like to bring into reality through our club, in partnership with my nonprofit, in East Africa. And I had this great idea. I had a 27-page proposal all put together, and, you know, it's so wonderful. And then I got there, and one of the full day sessions that Musanda and I did was called Building a Better World. And the entire afternoon was on how to get your projects funded and how to add zeros essentially to your project. And so again, we broke into groups. Because my project is like a real project that I actually want to do, whereas other people were just coming up with like hypothetical scenarios, my group chose my project, and we spent an entire afternoon with, I think there were maybe 10 of us. I mean, over 50 years of Rotary experience combined in this group, just taking my whole project, breaking it down, talking about what are the barriers to the project. What areas of focus does it fit into? Does it fit into too many areas of focus? Do you need to narrow it down? Just the amount of knowledge and expertise in the room, and so many people who were just, how can I help you? What can I provide for you? Who can I direct you to? Here's a resource. Here's my number. Here's my email address. How do we like make this happen? And that was really like one of the most impactful parts. So this is a still from the video that Musanda took. They nominated me to get up and talk about our project. And we talked about the importance of like how to create a community needs assessment, and how do we take our service projects and not do what we sitting in this room think that other people need, but how do we come up with projects that people actually need, whether they're here in our Edwardsville community or whether they're halfway around the world? Are we helping in the ways that we think people need help, or are we actually reaching out to people and finding out what do they need, and does our project help solve those problems? And that was great. It was actually like a pre-conference workshop. It was the very first day I got there, and I could have done just that day and felt like I got so much value out of that experience. So I brought back just kind of some ideas around those two things for our club. And I know we're getting close, so I'll make this fast. For membership strategies, what we're going to talk about when we meet is, what is our message? Like, how do we tell people who we are? If people think that we're a business networking group, then we're not doing something right in terms of getting the information out about what we do. One of the suggestions from the breakout session was, if people can't come to a meeting at noon on Thursdays, some clubs have started doing once a month, like a 7 a.m. coffee chat somewhere at a local coffee house, and once a month, a happy hour at like a local bar or somewhere. So there's some more informal opportunities to interact. What does our new member onboarding experience look like? And then how are we inviting people to interact with us? So my first experience here with Rotary was Brian invited me to come to a luncheon. So that was my first experience. Some people said, what if we invited people as their first experience to a service project? What if like the bed building day was their very first experience with us? And like, that was such a fun day. And, you know, we were hands-on and getting dirty and our families were there. Do we want to invite people to those types of events as a way to open the door to Rotary? And then for the global projects, couple things I took away was just, there's 7 areas of focus. My project could fit into all 7, which I thought was a good thing. That's actually not a good thing. That makes it really, really complicated to figure out, you know, which is going to be the priority, where is the funding going to come from, what is the reporting going to focus on. And then some other things that people talked about during that workshop were, how do you choose an international club to partner with if you're going to do an international project? People talked about, how do we get support from within our own clubs? So I have this wonderful idea. Is anybody else in my club also passionate about the project that I want to do? How are we building buy-in? And then are we leveraging other local clubs? Is there we have like what, like a Metro East club or like an Alton club or something like that. You can partner with other clubs in your local area, and then your impact gets bigger and you're not relying on just your club, especially if it's a smaller one, to try and raise funds. Very last thing, and then I'll take a few questions if anybody has them. Next year's convention is in Taiwan. And I'll leave this up here during questions. You can scan the QR code and it takes you straight to the registration page. If attending an international convention is something that you are able to do, I cannot recommend it enough. It was an incredibly profound experience. I made all kinds of new friends. Talk about like filling your bucket. This trip really filled my bucket, and it was 100% worth the travel and the expenses incurred to go. And I would really, really encourage you, like, if this is something you've been thinking about, sign up, absolutely go for it. I learned the hard way. It is way, way cheaper if you register ahead of time. If you wait until the last minute, the cost like doubles. But I know we just have a couple minutes, so I'll take, I guess, questions if you have any. Yes. Yeah.
Answered my call when I was trying to get somebody from Rotary International to come speak to us.
Oh, she was very sweet. Oh my gosh. There were a lot of them. We heard from the director of the World Health Organization. That was really, really cool. He was supposed to be there in person and something came up, but he did a Zoom and renewed the commitment to eradicate polio, talked about some other projects. We heard virtually from Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation. They renewed their commitment to working to eradicate polio. There was I don't know what her role was, but she was from Sesame Street, and she did a keynote on like early childhood education and development. I thought that one was really cool. Obviously, our Rotary International presidents, and the president-elect, there were a couple other ones as well, but those were the ones that stood out.
Off topic, what's the CMP going on over there?
No, they made a special, like, Rotarian only stampede, and you'll have to ask Musanda about it because I skipped it.
And I never gonna go to happy hour. But I do. So I love the idea of happy hours. I think it would be a really good way to, I can barely make lunches. It'd be a really good way to keep this, especially people in the, around the area. So.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. We have a meeting sometime in August, I think. Yeah, we're going to talk about different memberships. Does anybody else have any other? Got plenty of them. Awesome. Thank you.
I do that role at the centerpiece, lots of family, home residents, thank you. And again, I'll just reinforce very quickly, I think it's on the table. So this is a list starting with the alphabetical order and ends with Mark Shasha. So if you're in between that alphabetically, you have a program this year, the next year. So please take that with you. Also has 50-50s, greeters, all that. 50-50, Abel?
Covering 179-139.
Who do we have? Who won?
Martini.
Martini got it? All right, congratulations, Greg. Did you win the pot? Yeah. Yep. Nope. Right, so we're up to $500,000. Okay. Program next week is Dan Havik, Invocation, Martini, Readers or Grants, and Seminism 50-50, Mark Housley. So, what are the things we think, say, or do? Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. I'll be there. Let me know. Yeah. Definitely be there. Oh, 2 days. Right. Not months.
What they do.
Is that so?
What is it?
That table up, so there's like. Information about Rotary and.
That is on the radar screen tonight for the board meeting, and so I'd love for you to take that initiative. That was a question, because you said Brian gets this, right?
Well, it's Brian, if. Laura and Brennan.
I'm saying like.
That's gonna be a subject matter tag. Let me. So, all right, so let's see, what do we have on there?
Membership table and criteria,
Okay.
put me, Laura and Amber.
Okay, what I would like you to do is think about it too, is engage always with the members. So, I'm saying, so.
We're gonna meet in a couple of weeks, it's probably like a week before the criteria.
Okay.
And talk about what we're gonna do.
Okay, great.
Then policy advertises what we need.
Thank you, because it's still hang on. So the science of work, so thank you.
Hey, thing done.
All right, thanks.
If you need it, that's easy button.
So, okay.
Here you go.
You make it easy, so, cool. I was like, at first I didn't hear that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, thanks.
First.
Thanks a lot, so thanks. Take care, okay? Have a good day.
Wouldn't make anything. That's not headaches.